Common animal, I grew up in a piss of hell. I'm strong enough to punch a hole in the ocean and kill a whale. This is Mark Bell of SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West, answering more questions today for the Power Project. Brought to you by HowMuchYouBench.net, the Slingshot, and the only strength magazine in the world, ThePowerMagazine.com. Our question for today is from Sam Bird, an extreme badass mofo when it comes to the squat. Sam Bird has successfully squatted over 1,100 pounds, I believe, in both the 198-pound weight class and the 220-pound weight class. Multiple world record holder, and just all-around bad mofo. If you've ever seen the guy in real life, he is just completely freaking jacked out of his gourd. He's got muscle on top of muscle, and I remember actually the first time I saw Sam Bird was with his shirt off, no homo. We were getting weighed in for a powerlifting meet, and actually him and Sean Frankel stepped on the scale before I did. And I looked at these two athletes, and I thought to myself, at 330 pounds, I thought to myself, are these guys in a different sport than me? Did I show up to the wrong event? Am I here? I look like I'm here for a pie eating contest, and these guys look like they're here to do 100-meter sprints or something. I mean, the guys, they looked like thoroughbreds. You know, they looked like Lamborghinis, and I looked like an old beat-up piece of shit. Anyway, Sam has been running into some injury, and I think there's so every once in a while you run into this with some top-level athletes where they have this kind of mindset of like, I'm just going to go in there, I'm just going to destroy shit, and I'm going to become stronger, I'm going to get better. This is the way I know how to get better. I'm just going to go in there, and I'm going to be a savage. And all that's fine and good. But sometimes I am a believer that the three big lifts can... It's not to say that you can't do the three big lifts with repetition, but I am a firm believer in thinking that the three big lifts, the bench, the squat, and the deadlift, you always have to really, really keep in mind that they are very dangerous lifts to be doing a lot of repetitions with. And we're talking about repetitions in powerlifting. Always kind of keep in mind, we're really just talking about like 3 to 6 reps. I have a couple different theories on this, but basically what I see, I mean, some guys are technicians. So some of the dudes out there that are technicians that really know how to hit their spot and really know how to hit their point and they really know how to hit the lift just right each and every single time. They get the right feel and the right sensation for it. Maybe some of this information doesn't apply to them because they're in such good position all the time. They're paying so much attention to their form and their tightness, and they're not losing their spring and losing their coil and losing that tightness that's important to stay away from injury. But when you go to do a squat, and let's say your max squat is 600 pounds, and you want to do 500 for repetitions, to me that's too hot. That's too heavy to really take for any sort of like significant amount of repetitions. I mean, you want to do a double with that or something like that with a pair of knee wraps on. It's understandable. You want to work your way into doing a triple over a period of time. It might be understandable. Might not be too hard for you to manage. But what I see happening is a lot of times, you know, a guy, his max squat will be 600 pounds. And it will be a squat that they really prepared for and they did in a competition. So really, like on any given day, they can hit like 575. They can't always just hit that 600. You know, your strength is going to come and go, especially on 1 rep max. It's going to kind of come and go, as does your body weight and training, as does many aspects of your training. Things come and things go. That's just the way training is. And I think that what happens sometimes is people get a little ambitious and they're like, I did 500, for 4 reps one time. And they're going by their absolute strongest. And so they're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to try 520 or 510 for 4. And they get a little forward, they get a little funky on a rep or two. And sure enough, they get injured or they just simply can't recover from that workout that well. They go into the next workout the following week with what I call a hangover. And that hangover is just kind of sitting in their body, just waiting to wreak havoc. And as soon as they go for 550 for a double, let's say, wham, there goes something. Something gets pulled on the wrong way, something gets tugged the wrong way, and there you are with an injury. So I guess the main thing to realize here is if you're going to do repetitions on a bench squat or deadlift, just a traditional bench squat or deadlift, not a box squat or any sort of variation. The variations are going to, in my opinion, going to be crucial to you not getting hurt. Doing something like bands or doing something like chains where the weights are lighter at the bottom and they're heavier at the top, that's going to change things significantly for you to the point where you probably won't get hurt. Another thing to realize is, like, most of the time when you see these high-level guys, Ed Coan's always a great example. But when you saw Ed Coan, do something astronomical for, like, let's say a set of 3 or set of 4, it always looked like he could have done it a rep or two, didn't it? Do you guys really recall seeing like a major strain from Ed Coan? I mean, except for maybe a third attempt squat in a meet, a few attempts in a meet, I can kind of vaguely recall him struggling with a weight, but they were always blasted, weren't they? His weights were always blasted. And I guess my point is you should always train kind of behind your means a little bit. A good example of this, or a bad example of this, I should say, is myself last night. I did 410, I did 460, and then I went and I did 480, and then I tried 500 on the bench, all for doubles with a pause. Tried 500 for a double, and I couldn't get it. I did 1 rep. So there's an example of just going too heavy when you're trying to get an additional repetition in there. And I see people make that mistake even more so when they go for more repetitions. But basically, you're just, in many cases, just using too much weight. Sam Bird said he got hurt. He did some repetitions with 600 pounds. And then, he tried to back off a little bit, did some repetitions another week. But he did like 5 reps, and then a set of 10 with 600 pounds, only weighing like 220 or whatever it said he weighs. What people don't understand is that 600 for 10, that is a brutal set, and that is very taxing on your body and very difficult to recover from. And he also did 3 sets. He did 5 and 5, and those two sets of 5 probably weren't too bad. But then that last set of 10 was probably, although it was great, that always goes back to, I always like to refer back to the just because you can doesn't mean you should type of deal. He could have probably done another set of 5 and then came in the next week and lifted and probably not gotten hurt. I'm not going to say Sam Bird's an idiot. We all make those mistakes. I make them way too often myself, and it makes me so pissed off. I can't even tell you how frustrated and mad I get at myself when I make mistakes like that. And luckily for myself, I normally only slightly injure myself. But you could end up doing something catastrophic, so you got to be very careful. With the main lifts, if you're going to do some repetitions on them, keep in mind that that's not a deload and that's not a week off. I think that's the main mistake people are making. People are kind of identifying these repetitions that they're doing with it being like a deload. And I think Brandon Lilly, the cube inventor, I think Brandon Lilly's, if you watch his training, Brandon, he really trains pretty light sometimes. If you think about how strong the guy really is, he's like underloading quite often. And sometimes he'll do a set of 3 and you'll be like, I know Dan Green does that, and this guy does that, and that guy does that. But when it comes to single rep maxes on the platform, Brandon shines, and it's because he's able to consistently make progress, and he's always training a little bit behind his actual means. And I believe that was the same case with Ed Coan. When Ed Coan would do, a set of 6 leading into a competition, and then the next week a set of 5, set of 4, set of 3, set of 2, set of 1. When he did his set of 6, he was probably just as strong to do that set of 1. It was just kind of a progressive overload to tune him up for the competition. That set that he did for 6, he probably could have done for 8. That last set that he did going into the meet, hitting up a couple singles, maybe the last 2-3 weeks before the meet, are all repetitions that he probably could have done for multiple reps if he really wanted to. And so keep that in mind when you're training. Can you do an extra rep? Are you leaving a rep or 2 in the tank? And if you are leaving a rep or 2 in the tank, I guarantee you'll be able to make that much of a leap forward. You'll be able to slingshot that much further forward. So we're running out of time here, but I just want to talk real quickly about, we got the elbow sleeves from howmuchyoubench.net, which is a way of protecting yourself before you wreck yourself. We have the multi-purpose wraps, which are fantastic as well for, Sam Bird hurt his quad. You can wrap your quad up with it, depending on how big your quad is. If you have a huge quad and you're trying to wrap the upper quad, unfortunately, it will not work for that. I got something else in the works for that type of thing right now. So, then also, of course, we got the Gangsta wraps. And my wraps are different than everybody else's wraps out there because my wraps are fresh, my wraps are dope. No, my wraps are different than everybody else's out there due to the way they're designed. They're designed so that you can wear them as a multi-purpose wrap. You can wear them on your elbow, you can wear them on your forearm, you can wear them on your kneecap, and you can also wear them on your wrist. You can put them around your teeth if you want. Wherever there's pain, you can put them there. And as far as these elbow sleeves, people are getting a little confused on the measurements on these. Where do I measure? Make sure you measure where your elbow is, right there. Bam. That's where you're going to be measuring. I personally wear a 6 normally. I wear 5.5 for benching, so I get a little bit more support, but 6s are normally for deadlifts and squats. All right, Sam Bird, I hope that helps you out, man, and I'm just honored and privileged to be able to answer questions for some of these great athletes around the world. Strength is never a weakness, and that is it from supertraining.tv.